is tied to the site plan approval. And finally, we will work in conjunction with the applicant, with our public agency partners, with respect to the clearing of conditions and their requirements, and we will be reporting back to council as that moves forward. And of course, I'll close with a slide that you will see later on as a member of the design team describes some of the build form, some of the building and development opportunities that are being pursued in Markham Centre. As you can see, the arena is located here, and some of you may be familiar with some of the development that is already in place and some of the newer projects that are being developed. That concludes my presentation, Mr. Mayor. If you have any questions, I can.
Thank you. I think while you have that slide up here, just for background information, this is an area, as you described, that was planned back in the late 80s, early 90s. And while we were ahead of the curve, if you will, in terms of this type of development across the GTA, a place where we could have some intensification, we've since had to revise our plans because of direction and policy passed at the province, both by the previous Conservative government and the current Liberal government, that wanted to see municipalities curb urban sprawl and look for places in their municipalities for intensification. So while graphically you might get a sense of what Markham Centre will look like down the road, I think it's important to note that the amount of people living in this area, and they're not all moving in the next 10 years, but ultimately when Markham Centre is built out, there'll be 40,000 people and 40,000 jobs within this area. And it's identified in the provincial policy and the places to grow as an urban growth center. And so while we were ahead of its time in terms of provincial policy of taking this type of initiative, since we've done it, provincial policy has also dictated that we increase the population within these identified urban centers. And I think it's good context to know that as we're discussing the different elements of the proposal. So thank you very much to the both of you. And Sheldon, if I could ask you to come up and start the presentation, please.